Representative Forrest are going to get into. Much needed act. Unfortunately, the times of today dictate that to us. We need extra protection, not just for police officers, but for all first responders. We are in the right place there. Let me, before I bring up Representative Hickson, let me correct something I should have done weeks ago, and that is I'm honored to endorse Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette for the office of governor. She is exactly what we need here in South Carolina. She is focused on business. She's laser focused on law enforcement. So many things are going on in law enforcement right now. And we need a governor, and I've said this before about Pamela Evette years ago. She's a partner. She's not a figurehead sitting in Columbia that expects to dictate to us how we get it done. She is a line of communication. She has been with us on a regular basis for years, but during Helene, she was here in Edgefield multiple times. Not just to dictate things. She was in a water line. She was in a food line. She was talking to constituents here in Edgefield County to make sure that they had the things that we needed, the things that could be provided, things when we didn't have. She was instrumental in helping us arrange those things. I'm honored to endorse her today. I ask everyone in Edgefield County, I assure you my family is going to support her for governor, and I hope everyone in Edgefield does. And I'm going to turn over to Representative Bill Hickson.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Sheriff. Governor, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for allowing me to be here with you today.
Thank you,
I'm
Deputy.
Bill Hickson. I represent House District 83, which is Aiken and Edgefield County. I'm also here today to talk about the HALO Act. On the bill, I'm one of the sponsors, and we got Representative Cal Forrest is one of the sponsors about what we call the HALO Act. Yesterday, when I pulled the bill up, I was reading through it to make sure I would be able to talk about it correctly. I saw Representative Wooten is the main sponsor. I called him and asked him, I said, what do we plan on doing when we go back in 2026? He said, we're going to pass this bill. Being the sponsor, also being the co-sponsor along with Representative Forrest, we're going to push this bill because the HALO Act is very important to our law enforcement, our emergency EMTs and things like that. We see now where they're getting interfered with a lot. I'm a constable. I ride with the sheriff's office a lot. I ride with the police officers, police in North Augusta a lot. And we see people wanting to act like they're trying to help, but really they're trying to get in your way, and then they want to harass you and do things like that. It's not right. Let us do our job. Let law enforcement do our job. Let EMTs do their job, and we will give you a warning. You will need to get back and stay back. And if you don't go along with that warning, you can be arrested. And so we want everybody to be able to do their job and do it as professional as we can, because the people we're working with, some of them are injured, some of them are probably on the way to jail. But what we want to do is make sure that law enforcement and emergency people have the right to do their job. Also, I'm here also as an endorsement to Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette for governor. She's been my friend. I work with her up at the State House all the time. She always comes by and speaks to me, comes by my office, sees me at the State House. She's a very friendly person. She's a business person, and she's somebody that could lead our state way into the future, and she's also somebody that I'm going to endorse also, as well as the sheriff.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative.
Forrest?
Good afternoon. I'm Representative Cal Forrest, House District 39, Saluda and Lexington counties. And I think the Sheriff Rowland and Representative Hickson have done a fair job in telling you about the HALO Act and why we need it, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. But we'll tell you that's Pamela Evette. She stands for the HALO Act, and that for many more reasons. I myself will be endorsing Pamela Evette as our next governor of South Carolina. I've gotten to know Pamela over the past several years very well. She's very proactive in her duties as our lieutenant governor. She's done an outstanding job. She's on the House floor on a regular basis. She's on the Senate floor on a regular basis, meeting with all the representatives and senators of South Carolina. personal relationships with us all, making sure we're getting the right things done, getting South Carolina headed in the right direction, meeting with agency heads all the time. And not only is she a businesswoman, but she's a successful businesswoman. And I call her, she's kind of like one of us. She has the heartbeat of she's got her thumb on the heartbeat or on the pulse of regular everyday hardworking South Carolinians. And above all, Pamela Evette is a great person, and I think she will be a great next governor of South Carolina. And I wish her all the success, and I know I'll be voting for her, and all my family and friends will be voting for her. And I wish her the best of luck.
Thank you so much, Representative.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You know, after those talks and after those endorsements, I don't know that much of an introduction is actually needed at this point. And to be in Edgefield, the home of 10 governors and numerous lieutenant governors, it's an honor to introduce you today and to wish you on forward to the governor's office, because I know that's where you're going. It's her record alone speaks for itself. I think she's the finest lieutenant governor that's been in this state maybe in history. I think she'll make the finest governor that we have had in history. She's well on her way. Again, it's her focus. She's focused on business. She's focused on families. She's simply focused on South Carolina. We'll be a better state when we elect Lieutenant Governor Pam Evette to the governor's office. With that, I give you Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Well, hello, everybody, and I want to thank you all for coming. Today is a great day. Thank you to the Sheriff. Thank you so much, Deputy, for all of your support in this, and for my friends, Representative Hickson, Representative Forrest. Something that brought us all here today is I had a meeting last week in Charleston with a gentleman who brought up the HALO Act to me. And you know, during my time as Lieutenant Governor and working with Governor McMaster, we worked very hard to make South Carolina a law enforcement friendly state. I have said it many times when talking at law enforcement events and just out in the general public, that if you're a law enforcement officer anywhere in the country and you're not happy, we want you to know that you have a soft landing pad and a friendly state waiting for you right here in South Carolina. And during our time in office, we tried to make sure that we took care of our law enforcement. We wanted to make sure that we raised law enforcement pay because it was needed. And we bought them the equipment that was needed to get them home safely because that was imperative. And now with this HALO Act, this is common sense. And what I've been hearing from the people of South Carolina and the people all around the country is that they're looking for common sense answers. And the HALO Act, when it was talked about it to me, they said, Lieutenant Governor, will you please stand behind this piece of legislation and help get it through the General Assembly? And when they talked about the HALO Act, they said, you know, a law enforcement officer, and I'm speaking to the crowd right here, right? When they come up on a group of people, let's say there is a protest going on in our streets. We see it on the news every single day that people are coming up to our law enforcement, to our first responders. They have a camera, they're in their face. Now think about the uniforms that they're wearing. They have a gun on their side, they have a taser on them, they have handcuffs. They are trying to protect themselves, protect their weapons, look around them, and be able to watch what's going on in front of them. And he said, with the HALO Act, what we're asking is that when a law enforcement officer or a first responder says back away, that anybody coming up into their space has to back away 25 feet so that they can do their job and not worry about being harmed. Our goal as Lieutenant Governor and Governor is to make sure that every single one of the men and women who put their life on the line for us every day, we can do everything within our arsenal to get them home safe. So I'm here today to ask the General Assembly, when we come back in January, to put this top on your list, because it's not enough as we see, again, around the country and what's happening, it's not enough just to say we care about them by raising their pay. It's not enough to say we care about them for giving them the equipment they need. We have to go a step further and make sure we have laws on the books that continue to protect our law enforcement and first responders. So I want to thank the media for being here today. I want to thank you all. And I want to thank everybody out there who puts on a gun and a badge and goes out every day to keep their state and their community safe. We appreciate you, and we will continue to do whatever we can to make you feel like your life is important and it's top on our list to protect. Thank you all so much. So with that, if anybody has any questions?
Yes.
Sure.
Lieutenant Governor, I know that your opponents that are also running for governor are also taking a strong stance in supporting law enforcement. So I wanted to know, how would your plans better support our law enforcement partners in the state?
So, you know, I look at my record. This is something that I haven't just talked about today. It's something that the governor and I have been doing for 7 years, trying to make sure we put the needs of law enforcement first and foremost. And I don't think it's look at our past and look at what we want to do in the future. I mean, I'm a mother. I was a business owner. It is very important to me to make sure that we recognize that the reason South Carolina is growing, and I've said this long before I throw my hat in the ring to be governor, one of the reasons we are growing so strongly is because of our law enforcement. It's because of our first responders. Businesses from across the country, across the globe, are not coming here if we didn't have a state in which they felt safe. And so they are a key component to our economic development, prosperity, and we want to make sure that they know we want to acknowledge that, right? First and foremost, that they are a reason that South Carolina is thriving like it is.
How do you think the pro-law enforcement acts that you're taking now and maybe will take in the future will not only help protect the law enforcement officials and officers, but also the citizens in South Carolina?
Absolutely. You know, when I watch the chaos that ensues across the country, you know, on main streets everywhere, innocent people are getting hurt all the time by the chaos that's happening. And so these laws, first and foremost, protect our law enforcement and our first responders, who so many of the time ends up being the target in those acts. But we always hear about the collateral damage that happens with innocent people on the streets. And so we have got to keep moving as society keeps changing. This is something we have to stay focused on and keep moving. You know, probably something we wouldn't have never thought 10, 15 years ago we needed, but today we know we do. And tomorrow there may be something else. I just want law enforcement officers and first responders across our state to know that we will keep our eye on the ball and make sure that we continue to change our laws to protect them.
What would you say is the number one thing or resource that law enforcement needs in the state? Like, I know we have the HALO Act, and then you mentioned building a immigrant detention center. What's the number one thing our law enforcement needs here in the state?
I think that's, for any business owner who's out there listening, for anybody who's ran their own business, for anybody who's ran a department, there is never just one thing. You have to, there's many balls up in the air, so when somebody tells you we're only laser focused on one thing, it means they don't have an eye for everything going on around them. And we have to look at all things. We have to make sure that our law enforcement men and women, our first responders, have the training they need, the pay resources to be able to stay in the positions they have a calling for. We need to make sure we stay up on technology. You know, the sheriff just toured me through this amazing detention facility and sheriff's offices, magistrate courtrooms right here in Edgefield. This is the gold standard for correctional facilities really around the state. So we need to make sure that we can't just give them one thing. We need to give them all the things that will keep them safe, keep them in this profession, and keep them keeping us and our community safe.
And if I could interrupt you.
Absolutely.
And jump right in there on that. So you could ask me, you could ask 45 other sheriffs here and across this country. That answer is going to be recruiting and retention is always our number one. And again, my history goes back with Lieutenant Governor of needing things for this state and for this area, and she has provided. She has been instrumental in laws and in the funds and in the pay raises for state police officers. I'm going to work on it for the county. State employees, she's been there. And it's that record that I think she'll take forward, and that's why I'm doing it.
And Lieutenant, can you talk a little bit about the possibility of an immigration detention center here in South Carolina at some point? Why do you feel that's necessary?
So the Trump administration and Secretary Noem have reached out to red states and Republican governors asking for our help. And I think that's important because the American people gave President Trump a mandate. When he ran on closing our northern and southern borders. He ran on stopping the pouring in of fentanyl that has affected our families and our children in record number. He ran on the premise that criminal, illegal aliens would be caught, detained, and deported. And the American people overwhelmingly stood with that and gave a mandate to him to get it done. And so as the governor came out and said, he is looking for facilities that fit the bill around South Carolina, something that is already here, something that is away from neighborhoods, something that won't endanger everyday citizens. And I think that is a great thing to do. We're seeing it happen around the country. We want to make sure we get the worst of the worst out of our country. They weren't invited here. We don't want them here, and we want to send them back to their home of origin. All right, guys.
One last question.
Okay.
It's just, I know that, during this campaign, you're really focusing on supporting law enforcement, taking on the issue of illegal immigration. Is there anything else that your campaign is really focused on about the state?
Oh, absolutely. South Carolina can and will become a zero state income tax state. And we are committed to working to that, working with the General Assembly. I'm proud that while I have been in office, Governor McMaster and I, along with the General Assembly, have worked for the largest state income tax cuts that we've ever seen in our history. And I'm also very focused on SCOGE, right? Like we call it DOGE at the federal level, but let's personalize it right here in South Carolina. Let's make sure that we don't have waste, fraud, and abuse in our state. Let's make sure that for every South Carolinian that signs a state tax check on April 15th to come to us, they know that their money is being spent wisely, right? And that's what they want to see. We've seen waste, fraud, and abuse at every level. I also want to take that a step further, and let's use technology, let's use AI to run more efficiently. The sheriff and I talked about that right here at Edgefield's detention center. Because of the innovation that they have in this facility, they can run with less number of people. And as we see our population decreasing and retirement ages are increasing, we have to learn how to do that. And as a business person, I know that those are the exact things that create surplus on the bottom line. And we all like it when we see a big surplus every single year in Columbia, because that means we're doing our job right. All right, thank you, everyone. That was very easy. Thank you so much.
It's absolutely my pleasure.
And you gave me all kinds of great talking points on efficiency, and I didn't even know it. Daffy, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Did you get my voicemail?
I think so.
Okay, good.
For sure.
Because I yelled at Richard.
Did you?
Because I didn't know you were there that day.
Something.
All right, well,